Hey guys, welcome to Production Music Live. My name is Francois. In today's video we are going to have a little production session here. I was already working on this track. It's a remake of one of my favorite tracks by Ben Bohmer, Vale. And I was trying to figure out how he did certain elements. I think that's always a good idea if you have some favorite tracks and favorite styles to really sit down and try to remake the whole thing or try to remake your favorite parts, because you can learn a lot and pick up a lot of tricks, figure out new stuff by accident that you can then, save parts of it and use it later as inspiration for your own music or something. So I think this is very handy, like reverse engineering something that's already there in order to understand better how to do things. First of all, what I want to do right now is I have the drumming and some instruments, and I did everything in Ableton, like with Ableton 10 elements only. I'm only using Wavetable here. And actually I have one external plugin here, which is a free contact library, actually a free Duduk instrument. But first of all, I want to kind of come up with a new chord progression and maybe also melodies, such that I can move this track in a slightly different direction. I already have an idea for the basic chord progression here. I have it here with Wavetable. So fairly basic. We have a very stable chord progression. You can see D and G are playing in every single chord. We are in E minor here, even if it could also look like C major from here, but we are actually in E minor. You will see that in a bit. And we are basically, well, let's take a look at the bass notes we could be playing here. So I have this bass here in my beginning of the track, and it has this rhythm. Okay, and I want to go down to C in the beginning. And let's check our first chord again right here. Yeah. If you look at this, this is actually a C major. If I transpose these two notes up there, you can see we have C major added to. So we have the added tone D right here in the C major chord. If you have no idea about what I just said, feel free to check out our course on harmony chord progressions. I'm putting a link in the description where we are explaining the basics of chord progressions and harmony in a very practical way. So you don't have to know sheet music or something. You can just like get started in the piano roll. So this is a C major, and this will be our first chord. And I want to go to E minor, because this is an E minor 7th chord here. We have E minor. Two semitones in between, three semitones in between here, minor chord, and then the 7th on top. Okay, so we are going to play E, and then we are going to play G in the bass note afterwards, because we have G major right here. Simple G major chord. And then in the end, in the bass, I want to go back down to C, and you will see why in a second. Also think of playing this one an octave lower here. So this G, shift arrow key down, one octave lower. You have to have good headphones or good speakers in order to be able to hear that actually, because it's very down low. played together with the drums. So up here I have my loop group, and that's something that was a bit more complicated to make, but I'm trying to have them all sort of resonate. I have this resonator here in the Berlin setting. You can find the resonator in your audio effects here, and it's in the Berlin setting, and I set the note to E actually here, and then you can play around with the dry wet and make it even stronger. Okay, now we need some kind of pluck or arpeggio on top, and I'm going to take this bass because it already has the pattern I want to use for our pluck or arp as well. It's also a basic wavetable sound here, just a little bit of erosion and a bit of EQing. It's not perfectly done actually, so I'm not going to take a closer look at it right now. Since version 10, Ableton has this nice feature where you can work with 2 MIDI clips and have them overlay, so see ghost notes like this one for example. I never really do it because after many years of music production you have pretty good ear for these things, but if you struggle with it, it's very handy because you can see what chords you are playing in the background, and it gets much easier for you to pick out the notes to play with your arpeggios, for example. But I'm going to go in here and play yeah, let's start with D. And this is just my process. If yours is different, that's perfectly fine. I kind of like to play around in a piano roll and then come up with stuff with the mouse, but I can also use the MIDI keyboard here, but then it's a bit harder for you to see what I'm doing. I could arm it. So that was out of our scale. That way we also know that we are really in E minor. This could be a pattern we could be playing, so. And I'm going to copy it. Yeah, let's do that one more time. This pattern seems to work for all of our chords. And that's pretty obvious because we are playing D and G here, and we go back to our chord progression. We have D playing fully through and we have G playing fully through. And that's why that already works. And F sharp is being played so quickly. There's not a lot of tension that can build up between this note and that note. But maybe still a little bit boring. I had another idea here, somewhere in the front. something with these arpeggios. Sometimes it's better to use a more simple one that doesn't change as much. Sometimes playing something much more monotonic or monotonous than, you know, like having crazy ups and downs in such an ARP melody here might help you get less tired over time by your melody. And that's something I figured out a couple of years into music production, that actually makes sense to sometimes less is more here. But we could alter the pattern. So basically we don't really need 8 bars to play this pattern. We are actually playing the same pattern 2 times right now. So we are altering F and E here basically, and that's the whole story. So later down the road, I want to play around with this nice Duduk sound here, which is an instrument from Taqsim. And they have a free library here with accordion, strings, flutes and stuff. And I kind of like Duduks very much. It adds so much feeling to a track. I have a little bit of processing going on here to make it fit a little better into this electronic context here. Yeah, maybe that's a little too much. I could also just like play single notes at the beginning of patterns, for example, like this. Yeah, we also have this other instrument here, which is basically, what is this? This is saw wave and a quad saw wave here. What does that sound like? I also wanted to use this in the track because it's also being used in Vale or Vale. Let's go in there, create a new MIDI clip, play fifths. But maybe an octave lower. What happens if we play an octave lower? So this one is pitching a little in the beginning. I think I made that with the instrument envelope. Yeah, envelope number 3. This envelope is actually controlling the pitch. So in the beginning, the sound will make this wow, kind of tunes in. And then we take the fifth for E, and we had G bass note playing here, so take that fifth as well. And then the last chord should be working with the fifth and C. I mean, it's pretty powerful. It's only Ableton. Also, this was interesting to make actually, this loop thing here. Whenever you're doing something like that, you should really try to make it as in key as possible, but also just as needed, because sometimes it's nice to have these overtones that are going a little bit crazy. And you see, I used some wavetable synths here. This one is playing rather to the left. Oh, that's an operator right here. I might bounce this to an audio loop or something later, so it can be used in a future track or something. Maybe also the same for the whole loop thing, but also for the individual things here. This is a kalimba sample that is heavily tweaked here. Whenever I'm trying to achieve some sounds, some specific sounds, I'm just throwing effects and effects and effects here. Later, to make this maybe also a little more CPU friendly, I would just like bounce it down. What's that? It's also the kalimba, but with a longer attack time here and some redux. Nice. That one sounds really nice, actually. Could really use this as a drum element. Oh, look, we have something inharmonic. That one is more to the right here in our panorama. Let's play them together. What's called main perk here. I basically was trying to get the groove here with the velocities and also with the swing MPC 16 swing 56 from the groove pool. You know, the groove pool in Ableton. If you have a hard time coming up with interesting grooves for your house or techno tracks, we have a full groove course on our learning platform on productionmusiclive.com. Feel free to check that out. Below that, we just have our drumming, nothing too crazy. And these tiny things are always interesting here. See always a little bit of velocity going on here to support the groove. And that's just our off hi-hat. Solo, it sounds really weird. I think it still needs a little bit of work. These samples are out of our sample pack, the Premium Volume 2. You can find a link in the description on our website as well. It's a sample pack with lots, I think more than 900 drum samples, one-shots, and a couple of loops. Because I'm going to fast forward now a little, I have it all laid out with the pattern we wrote. And now I want to see how we can make the Duduk work. Yeah, we also have these sort of fake strings here from, it's not really a string, it's just wavetable. Again, solo, it doesn't really sound good. But you can try to hide something like this. It's not like the most important element. You can hide it sort of in the mix, and it, like, stuff can sound very different in the mix compared to when listening to it in solo mode. So in the context of things, it might still work, but I'd prefer a string library actually here. What are we going to do with the Duduk? Are we going to play it like more crazy melodies on top, or are we going to use it more or less in this way and much closer to the way that it's being used in the AnjunaDeep release of Ben Bohmer? Or are we going to go crazy with stuff like that? It sounds nice, but I think it might also kill the groove. This track is actually pretty groovy. That's also one of the reasons why I made this pad very quiet and placed it in the background, because it's playing all the time. It's not really playing a groove or something. And if you make it louder, you just lose your groove. For example, if I go here. So I still sort of want the pad progression in the background, but I don't really want to kill the groove. That's why I'm making it quiet. It's not really perfect like that. And it's also something I wanted sidechain right here, but I have the feeling it feels warmer with it than without it. Also something we could try to hide with mid-side EQ actually. Here could go in there and it's one of the most important mixing tools, mid-side EQ, making sure you place instrument elements in certain parts of the audio panorama. Right now I'm affecting stereo parts, so left and right of the sound, and this is the mono or the mid part. Okay, that's quite nice. How does it sound in the break? Our break is definitely full enough. We also have this little arp up here. If somebody would ask you, hey, is that part of the track? I would definitely say no way. And sitting on top of that, we have this break crash here. Taking a look at the arrangement, we have, what's that, 30 seconds, 6:45 or something. So 6-minute track. This is intro for mixing it in a DJ set or something. Yeah, and that's definitely like the filter has to go down on. I want to bring this in smoothly. Yeah, what I like doing in these cases is bring it in from almost not being noticeable, and you almost don't know the difference from the bass and from this sound, but then it comes in over time. I think actually right here we don't want to play it that loud either. So, or that open filter, much more closed. Yeah, so again, speaking of the arrangement, we have this intro part here. We are bringing in our chord progression starting after 32 bars right here. And then we are introducing more elements and chords after 48 bars. And then play these 16-bar loops 2 times. Okay, I used fade to gray here, putting in reverb and delay towards the end of the first part and falling into the drop, falling into the break actually. Sorry. Yeah, that's our dreamy part here. That's very typical for the artist. He's doing this in a lot of tracks. Like open up the instruments, play something maybe a little different, but not too different actually. And I'm still not sure if I'm going to have this altered chord right here, right in front of the actual drop, because it goes up here. Full part, 16 bars one time, and then we're already playing rides on top of this. So this if you look at the arrangement, you can easily see that this is going to be the loudest part of your track, because you're playing everything you played before plus rides and some hi-hat elements on top compared to this part right here. So this is the main part, the climax or something, and then we are slowly going back down, a little comeback here, because we had no off hi-hats here. And then in the end, we are going back to monotonous bass. And we can repeat this 2 times or something, so the DJ has enough time to mix into the next track or something. And then you go, you can also go down with your bass filter frequency, for example. Yeah, and also with this one, you want to go down and close it. Yeah, if you want to learn more about how to arrange tracks, we also have an arrangement course where you can learn the fundamentals and practical arrangements for different genres, but most of them electronic music genres like house, deep house, melodic techno and stuff like that, or EDM arrangements. So something very interesting and quite unique also. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the Duduk. I still have to, I think, sleep one night and then see what comes up in the morning. So I hope you enjoyed this little practical session here. Feel free to subscribe to our YouTube, leave a like and a comment, hit the notification bell, and I hope to see you next time.